This is a mind-bending suspense film, one of the earliest movies from the 90s to tackle the paradox of time travel. Cole is a prisoner locked away in an underground jail. He keeps dreaming of a memory from when he was 8, watching a man in a flowered shirt suddenly collapse from a gunshot, and then a blonde woman rushing over to him. The chaos left young Cole scarred for life. Suddenly, his cellmate Jose wakes him up and tells him the prison broadcast just called his name. It turns out the prison regularly selects inmates as volunteers for an extremely dangerous mission. Almost nobody survives these assignments, and those who return usually end up insane. Before Cole can be sent, he has to complete a collection test. After some struggle, he is fully equipped and sent up to the surface. The city above is strangely silent, completely deserted. Decades ago, a virus had wiped out nearly 5 billion people, leaving the Earth's surface habitable only for animals and plants, while the survivors hid underground. Since scientists couldn't identify the virus's origin, they routinely sent people above ground to collect samples. At 47, Cole is strong and determined. He finishes his task quickly and earns a chance to join the dangerous project. Only then does he realize the prison is really part of an experiment. The scientists have built a time machine, sending people into the past to track down the original virus sample, hoping to change the fate of humanity and reclaim the surface. Because the machine is unstable, they use inmates as test subjects. Many were sent before, but most vanished without a trace. Cole doesn't care. He has nothing to lose, so whether he makes it back or not doesn't matter. A flash of blinding light, and Cole lands in Baltimore in 1990. Naked and without identity, he's arrested as a vagrant and thrown into a mental hospital, where psychiatrist Catherine is called to evaluate him. Cole insists he comes from 2035 and has traveled back to stop the 1996 virus outbreak. Catherine finds this absurd and has him committed to the asylum. During a conference with other doctors, Cole again tells his story, but to them it sounds insane. They remind him that it's 1990, not 1996. Cole realizes with shock that the time machine malfunctioned and dropped him too early. To prove he's from the future, he recalls a phone number given by the scientists for emergencies. But when he calls, it's just a housewife who has no idea what he's talking about. This only convinces the doctors further that he's delusional. Then it hits Cole. Of course, no one is monitoring that number yet. It's 1990, and the line won't be active until 1996. His explanation sounds even crazier, and the doctors conclude he's schizophrenic. Locked up in the asylum, Cole meets another patient, Jeffrey. Eccentric but sharp, Jeffrey listens to Cole's story, believes him, and even promises to help him escape. Cole isn't impressed and refuses to trust a mental patient. That night, exhausted, Cole dreams again of his childhood. This time, he clearly sees the blonde woman's face. It's Catherine, the doctor he met earlier. He also notices a man carrying a suitcase who looks just like Jeffrey. Cole can't make sense of the dream, since it comes from the blurred memory of his 8-year-old self. The next morning, Jeffrey actually manages to steal a key. He insists on helping Cole break out. Weak and heavily drugged, Cole drags himself through the escape while Jeffrey creates a distraction. Just as Cole reaches the exit, the staff tackles him. He's thrown into a padded cell, wrists and ankles strapped tight. But when the doctors discuss what to do, a nurse bursts in to say Cole has vanished. They rush to the room, stunned. The cell is sealed, Cole's restraints are intact, yet he's gone. The only explanation is the real one. Cole has been pulled back to 2035. There, the scientists play him a recorded message from 1996, claiming the virus came from the army of the 12 monkeys in Philadelphia. Cole insists that's not his message, since he was sent to 1990. The scientists don't press, but they're pleased to have a lead. They show Cole photos of suspected members of the 12 monkeys, asking if he saw them in 1990. One of the photos is Jeffrey. Cole recognizes him instantly, but how could a mental patient be tied to the group? Determined to learn the truth, the scientists send Cole again. A burst of white light throws him into the middle of a battlefield in France, 1917. Smoke fills the air, explosions everywhere. The machine has misfired again. Before he can react, Cole is shot in the leg. In agony, he notices a familiar face, his prison buddy Jose, lying wounded on a stretcher being carried away. It seems Cole isn't the only one being sent across time. The scene shifts to 1996, where Catherine is giving a lecture on stage. Ever since Cole vanished 6 years earlier, she had devoted herself to the study of the occult, uncovering phenomena that defied explanation. For instance, in 1917 on a battlefield in France, a wounded soldier who spoke no French was admitted to a hospital, only to vanish from his bed without a trace. Cases like these had appeared countless times throughout history, yet no one could provide a solid explanation. When the lecture ended, Catherine introduced her new book on the occult, and even signed copies for her fans. That's when a blonde man approached, muttering disturbing words about the destruction of mankind. Catherine, too busy signing autographs, ignored him, unaware that this moment would set the stage for a devastating outbreak. Later that evening, as Catherine got into her car to head home, she was suddenly attacked by a mysterious man hiding in the back seat. Frightened, she quickly offered him her car and money, but the stranger said he couldn't drive and revealed that he had been living underground since the age of 8. Hearing this, Catherine froze. She instantly realized the man was Cole. She could never forget his sudden disappearance. It was him who had sparked her endless curiosity about the world. Cole insisted she drive him to Philadelphia, explaining that records showed the Army of the 12 Monkeys base was there. Though confused and wary, Catherine complied, fearing he might still be a mental patient. On the way, they stopped at a motel to rest. To prevent her from escaping, Cole instinctively tied her up, then collapsed onto the bed and fell asleep. Once again, he dreamed of his childhood. This time, the face of the blonde woman was much clearer. It was Catherine herself, only with different colored hair. When he woke up, he told Catherine about his dream, but she became even more convinced he was insane. As they continued their journey, a news report came over the radio about a young boy who had mysteriously vanished. Police had searched the entire town with no sign of him. Cole calmly remarked that the missing boy was him, explaining that as a prank, he had hidden inside a barn. Catherine was stunned. To her, this only confirmed his illness was severe. After driving nearly 100 miles, she finally brought Cole to their destination. As the scientist's record suggested, Cole found markings of the 12 monkeys there. Watching his erratic behavior, Catherine simply couldn't believe a virus would be unleashed, especially since it was already December of 1996. Suddenly, a homeless man appeared through the fog, warning Cole that all his efforts were pointless. History could never be changed, he said, and instead of struggling to save humanity, Cole should accept his fate and enjoy life. But to stay here, Cole would have to pull out his left molar tooth. Every time traveler, the man revealed, was implanted with a tracking device there. That's why so many vanished without a trace. His cryptic words didn't stop Cole, but they planted doubt about the scientist's true intentions and made him realize he could never prevent tragedy. Soon after, with the help of a phone message left in 1996, Cole tracked down the headquarters of the 12 monkeys. He burst in, prepared to use force, only to discover it was just an animal rights group. After interrogation, he realized the mastermind behind it was Jeffrey. His father was a Nobel Prize-winning virologist, and Jeffrey despised him for experimenting on animals. That's why he stole the virus, to wipe out humanity and let animals reclaim the earth. Cole finally understood Jeffrey's motives. Wasting no time, he tried to stop the disaster, but Catherine still didn't believe anyone would deliberately spread a virus. On the road, she noticed Cole's leg wound and kindly removed a bullet for him. It was the very same injury he had suffered on the French battlefield in 1917. For Cole, time had passed in a blink, but for Catherine, 6 years had gone by. By the time Cole found Jeffrey, he had already been released from the hospital and appeared perfectly sane. Cole explained that he only wanted the virus samples. He couldn't stop Jeffrey's insane plan, but he could at least bring hope to the survivors of 2035. Hearing this, Jeffrey suddenly flew into a rage, shouting that the idea had come from Cole himself. 6 years earlier, while in the hospital, the two had watched a TV program about animal testing. Jeffrey had been furious, and Cole, disgusted as well, casually remarked that maybe humanity deserved to be wiped out by a virus. Those words gave Jeffrey his life's mission. After his release, he formed the 12 Monkeys. Humanity's downfall, Cole now realized, began with a single offhand comment. The revelation left him shaken. He couldn't accept that he himself was the true cause of mankind's destruction. Seeing Cole broken and tormented, Catherine didn't run. Instead, she comforted him, saying maybe it was all just in his head. Her words made Cole doubt his own reality. Could it all be a delusion? But when Catherine turned back, Cole had once again vanished into thin air. At first, she thought he was playing tricks. Then she saw a news report. Police had found the missing boy, and it turned out he had been hiding in a barn as a prank, just as Cole had said. What chilled her even more was the bullet she had removed from Cole's leg. Forensic tests showed it was an old bullet from World War I. That's when Catherine recalled her research. She frantically searched through supernatural photos from the war and found one showing Cole among the soldiers. It was clear. The soldier who had disappeared back then knew Cole, because both were travelers from the future. Cole had never lied. Realizing this, Catherine immediately called Jeffrey's father to warn him about the 12 Monkeys' plan to destroy humanity, but Jeffrey's father dismissed it, though he did have his assistant Peters upgrade the lab's security, knowing his son was unstable. Meanwhile, Cole was sent back to the future and praised by the scientists. He was the only one to have found Jeffrey. Even though he didn't retrieve the virus samples, they believed everything was under control. From now on, Cole would be granted amnesty and spared from any further missions. One would think this outcome would make him happy, but by then, Cole had convinced himself he was just a madman. Muttering to himself, he was given a sedative by the scientists, who then left him alone. When he woke again, he heard the beggar's voice reminding him how suffocating life was here, urging him to return to the past and enjoy life instead. Thinking of the fresh air above ground and of Catherine, Cole finally wavered. He volunteered to return to the past, get close to Jeffrey, and vowed to bring the virus samples back. With a blinding flash of white light, Cole was sent back to 1996, and Catherine, who had been keeping watch in Philadelphia, was overjoyed to see him return. She seemed to have expected him, but this time Cole refused to to focus on stopping the virus and insisted he was mentally ill, a claim that was really his way of running away, because the truth he'd learned made him only want to be a normal man. To prove Cole was from the future, Catherine listed the missing boy in the barn story, the World War I bullet, and the wartime photograph. But Cole shrugged them off as coincidences and then confessed that whether or not he was from the future, this time he wanted to stay and be with Catherine. Then, in a shocking act, he went into the bathroom and pulled out his left molar, a brutal symbol of his choice to remain and never return. Later, Catherine remembered the phone number detail. If 1990 was wrong, then 1996 might be right, so they could just call and check. Cole agreed. Catherine found a payphone and dialed. Minutes later, she ran back excitedly because the number reached only a cleaning company, not a scientific lab, which demolished their evidence and made everything look like Cole's fantasy. Catherine admitted that to ease the embarrassment, she had even left a message. 2nd Avenue in Philadelphia is the 12 Monkeys base. They released the virus. I can't help. Merry Christmas. Cole immediately understood. The message the scientist had received had been left by Catherine, which meant the virus would still break out in 1996. Devastated by the truth and knowing nothing they did could change humanity's fate, the two enlightened souls decided to let go and spend whatever time remained however they wished. Because Cole had abducted Catherine earlier, he was now wanted by the Philadelphia police, so the pair disguised themselves in a mall. When Catherine put on a wig, Cole realized the woman in his dreams was indeed Catherine, and without wasting more time, she took him to the nearest airport to catch a plane to a resort. Then the radio reported that last night the 12 Monkeys had released all the animals and locked up the virologists in cages. And watching animals running loose in the streets, the two finally realized the 12 Monkeys and the virus were unrelated. And if not them, then who had released the virus? A few hours later, they reached the airport, but the scene there unnerved them. Cole felt an uncanny familiarity with the airport and told Catherine, but she brushed it off and just wanted to leave the noisy city. While she bought tickets, Cole called the scientists in 2035 to say the virus had nothing to do with the 12 Monkeys and that he could no longer complete the mission and would not return underground. Shortly after he hung up, his cellmate Jose was sent back and shoved a gun into Cole's hands, warning him he must kill the person carrying the virus or Jose would kill Catherine. This moment reveals two things. Pulling a tooth doesn't remove the tracker, and Cole's thoughts were still being manipulated by the scientists. Confused about whom to shoot, Cole naturally worried about Catherine's safety. At the same time, Catherine, standing in line, recognized a familiar face, Peters, Jeffrey's father's assistant, and if someone would release the virus in 1996, it would be either Jeffrey or his father's assistant. Jeffrey had been ruled out, so the assistant was the real suspect. Catherine hurried to Cole, and Cole understood who he had to shoot. He resolved to go for broke to protect Catherine and stop the spread. However, Peters had already opened the vial during security and brazenly let staff smell it, which unknowingly started humanity's countdown. When Peters came into view, Cole rushed forward with the gun, but before he could fire, security spotted him and shot Cole dead on the spot, and Cole watched helplessly as Peters ran toward the airplane. Catherine, witnessing everything, was grief-stricken. Her attempts to stop the disaster had been in vain, and Cole could only say goodbye. The scene Cole had dreamed about over and over had just played out, and a small boy had seen it. That boy was 8-year-old Cole, who witnessed his own death, which explains the lifelong trauma. Cole's entire experience is a closed time loop. The young Cole would later hide with his parents underground, and 39 years on be sent back to 1990 to start the same loop again. In the film's final moments, Peters boards the plane carrying the virus safely, and a woman seated nearby utters the cryptic line, "I'm an insurance." Look closely. This woman is the older scientist from the future, the elderly Catherine, newly arrived by time travel. With that, the movie ends. The film's most debated question remains. If Cole had killed his 8-year-old self at the airport, would the cycle of fate still continue?